All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for Atlanta News First Plus. I am First Alert Meteorologist Courteney Jacobazzi. We are going to talk about a much colder start to the new year compared to the beautiful and warm day we had today. In fact, Atlanta reached the 70-degree mark this afternoon, but boy, is that about to change. And I know a lot of you still wondering about that winter weather potential for next week. I know you've seen a lot of things stirring on social media. Well, we're going to talk about what we know right now and what to expect heading into next week, because it is going to get downright cold. In fact, here's a look at the Climate Prediction Center's outlook going into the first full week of January into the middle of the month. Well below average temperatures likely. So we do know it is going to get very cold, but of course, does that line up with precipitation? That's what gives you the fun winter weather. That's the big question mark. In the meantime, the next few days are going to be chilly, and then it gets downright cold Friday, especially Saturday. And then as we head into Monday, we're going to add rain on top of that. It'll be a chilly rain. That is the reason for our first alert weather day. A widespread chilly rain on the way expected Monday morning. And of course, that's the day a lot of us have been watching for that winter weather potential. We'll cover that in the next couple of minutes here. For tonight, if you were getting ready to head out for your New Year's Eve plans, you'll want to grab the coat. Don't let the warm afternoon we had fool you. If you've stepped outside at all within the last couple of hours, you feel those temperatures dropping, that wind picking up. 42 degrees at midnight in the city of Atlanta. A lot of our suburbs in the 30s at that point. It will be breezy, so it'll feel more like the 30s. You'll definitely want to bundle up for any of your New Year's Eve festivities tonight, especially if you plan on being outdoors. Here's a look at those wind gusts. So they'll relax slightly through the late evening, but nonetheless, a very breezy night tonight, with wind gusts anywhere between about 20 to 35 miles per hour through the evening, maybe even some isolated higher gusts up in the mountains. Tomorrow, starting in the 30s, so there's that cold air settling in, and high temperatures tomorrow only topping out in the low 50s. So after a day in the low 70s today, will be about 20 degrees cooler by the time it's all said and done tomorrow. You'll need the jacket, the coat from start to finish, and it will stay breezy, so that'll make it feel a little bit cooler, especially in the morning hours. Here's a look at those high temperatures tomorrow. Area-wide, upper 40s to low 50s, 48 for a high in Helen, 51 in Rome, 53 in Atlanta, 55 in Covington, 56 in LaGrange. So it's just about normal for this time of year. I know it's kind of cold for us compared to where we were today, but nonetheless, that's where we're supposed to be this time of year. Look at tomorrow night. Of course, we have the Sugar Bowl over in New Orleans. If you were planning to catch a flight there tomorrow, just look at what to expect. It will be cooler here in Atlanta around 8:30. Of course, kickoff in the evening around 8:30, I believe, tomorrow night. But in New Orleans, it'll be around 60 degrees. So a little more mild along the Gulf Coast there, but here at home, we'll be in the low 50s. Definitely jacket worthy for the night tomorrow night here in Atlanta and in New Orleans. At least to me, that's a light jacket worthy weather to be near 60 degrees. Taking you into late week, we'll have another cold front move through. We're in a very progressive pattern. So we're going to have weather system after weather system roll through. It's just, is that cold air going to match up with it? So another front moves in Friday, Thursday into Friday. And what that's going to do is maybe, just maybe, squeeze out a flurry or two in the highest elevations of the North Georgia mountains if you live up in Clay County, North Carolina. Maybe a quick passing flurry on Friday. Otherwise, it is just going to be cold, even colder than where we'll be tomorrow. In fact, temperatures are dropping in the 40s. For high temperatures, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some spots might not make it out of the 30s on Saturday afternoon. You're at least going to spend most of the day in the 30s. So very, very cold air on the way for the weekend. That cold air spilling in behind that second front. That, again, could maybe squeeze out a flurry or two in the mountains on Friday. And then going into next week, we're going to be watching this cold Arctic air. It'll come from Canada. That'll start to usher in Monday and Tuesday. Monday being our first alert weather day. But then watch this. Going into Thursday of next week, a reinforcing shot of cold air. A trough digs extremely deep, carrying with it that very cold Canadian Arctic air. That's the day that I'm sure a lot of you have seen on social media. That's around like February 11th, 12th-ish. And of course, the temperatures are definitely going to get cold enough, but what models are struggling with is how much moisture are we going to have to work with to work in tandem with that cold air. So here's a look at kind of what we look at this far out. You're going to see people grab very outlandish model runs and post them that are saying we're going to get inches to feet of snow in North Georgia. You have to understand that this far out, that is not truth. It is what models are working on figuring out. At this point, long-range models are analyzing trends. So right now what they're recognizing is we're in a really, really progressive pattern. We're going to see front after front. What they're not recognizing is how much moisture return we're going to get behind each one of those fronts. Behind those fronts, we get very dry and cold air. How quickly can we get that moisture to come back and then work along that front to give us any kind of rain or winter weather? That's what models aren't going to recognize this far out. So what we know is early next week, we're going to have a pretty strong weather system moving into the southeast, and that's going to bring rain. North of these lows, that's where the cold air starts to wrap around. So that's when you get that changeover. And plus, naturally, north of here, they're already really cold. They've had several winter weather events already. So snow north of that low. And as we head into early next week, that first alert weather day on Monday, it looks like we're going to have rain along that front. We'll have enough moisture return to allow for that rain to develop along the front. It's going to be cold enough north of here, up in the Great Lakes region and parts of the Midwest for snow. For us here at home, it is not going to be cold enough for that rain to turn into any kind of winter weather, with the exception of maybe the mountains. Now, when it comes to that late week winter weather Arctic blast that we're going to have roll in, that's kind of the same question we're looking at. How far does this low make it, and how much moisture do we have? Are we going to have any kind of wraparound moisture from that low as that cold air is getting sucked in on the backside? Will that bring us any kind of winter weather in the form of snow or sleet, anything like that? Way too soon to tell at this point. We're analyzing trends. The closer you get to the day, you are able to analyze more so the specific details. So right now, Monday is looking like a more widespread chilly rain event. When it comes to late next week, we'll be watching very much what we did for the early week cold front. We'll be watching how far south does that low develop, how much moisture does it pull along with it. Right now, it's just too soon to tell. From earlier model runs, we were completely dry, and then some more later day model runs, they were thinking a couple inches of snow. It's flip-flopping, and that's going to continue to be the case. So when you're scrolling along on social media and you see this crazy winter weather event, don't freak out. It's way too soon to tell, especially for late week. Now, for Monday, not necessarily too soon to tell. Still definitely need some fine-tuning here, and this is more than likely going to change. But when it comes to over a week away, you can't keep that as truth just yet, because there's a lot of work to be done to the forecast. And the further out you go, it's like trying to read an exit sign from really far away. When you're driving and you're like, I don't know, let's say that's probably too far. If you're like, the closer you get to an exit sign, if I started saying a distance, it'd be completely wrong because nobody can read an exit sign from like half a mile away. But nonetheless, driving on the interstate, you know your exit's coming up. You're trying to read it to make sure it's right. The closer you get to it, the more you figure it out, right? Same with models. The closer you get to the day, the more detailed, the more you're able to see what you're trying to forecast. So here's a look at Monday. I'm going to show you two different models. We have the European model, and that's hinting at maybe a wintry mix up in the mountains, but again, mostly a chilly rain. And then the GFS, a little more aggressive with that winter weather potential, but still mainly looking at far northeast Georgia, up in the mountains, where maybe just a wintry mix is possible. So we're not looking at a big snow event on Monday, and then going beyond that into Thursday, Friday of next week, just too soon to tell, but we do know it is going to get very, very cold. It's just if the rain, the precipitation matches up with that. It takes a lot to get snow in North Georgia. It needs to be freezing at all levels of the atmosphere and the rain to come down with it. So that's pretty difficult for us. Clearly, we haven't had any kind of major snow event in a very long time here. So something we'll be tracking for you and watching very carefully. But in the meantime, if you're hoping for any kind of fun winter weather on Monday, that's just not looking likely, but we will get a chilly rain. If that changes, though, we will let you know. Here's a look at your first 7-day forecast. Chillier to ring in the new year. High only in the low 50s tomorrow and Thursday. Our mornings will go into the upper 20s to 30s throughout the rest of the week. Highs only in the 40s Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, that front moves in, brings us a widespread chilly rain. And then look at this. Our cold air really spills in on Tuesday with a high temperature of only 40 degrees in Atlanta. That means a lot of our suburbs will only be in the 30s on Tuesday afternoon. Get ready for it. Have those coats handy, have the hats, the gloves, all of it, all the winter wear. You're going to need it as we bring in 2025. All right, everyone, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. We will continue to update you on the forecast, including that first alert weather day Monday and any kind of winter weather potential that may be on the horizon. In the meantime, make it a safe night for your New Year's Eve. Stay warm tonight and make it a happy New Year. We'll see you next time.